What's up, everyone? Welcome to Mondays with Vish. I'm Grant Cohn. That's Vish Kumaran. We said we'd be here at 2:15. Niner news has been breaking left and right. We had to catch our breath and catch up with it so we could talk about it and not be late, but now I think we can do it. Starting off with the newest 49er, Samson Ebukam, is a player that came from the Rams. He was there for 4 years. One of their better players, unheralded, plays special teams, plays defense for them, excellent against the run, versatile, young. I know the Niners thought very highly of him. Vish, what do you think?
Yeah, so the hardest thing I think has been about this free agency is that I actually have to talk about players this time. So it's like you're trying to just like Samson Ebukam is not a player I've spent a lot of time watching his film and really making sure I know his skill set in and out. So I'm trying to, look up his advanced metrics, try and figure out, because I've seen him here and there, but it's so hard, right? Because we have to come talk about it in 15, 20 minutes. And so I actually think this is a solid move. I think he's a really solid player. Now, I know a lot of people, I was of the idea that I would really prefer a Unique Ngakoue, a Carl Lawson, but in a salary cap
way more expensive.
Right, that makes no sense. And I think there's a lot of different things he can do. He's quite athletic. He's 6'2", I think 245. That's his height weight. He's got some pass rush ability. He's not just a stick where you can drop him into zone coverage. He's not bad in space. So there's a lot of things he can do. Right, and he's got special teams value, and he hustles. He plays really hard. He plays hard. And so I think when you look at all of those things, it's a good signing for the Niners. We still don't know what DeMeco Ryans, and now they brought in James Bettcher, what their absolute plan here on this defense is. We know that it's going to be somewhat similar to Robert Saleh, but we don't know what kind of touches DeMeco Ryans is going to add because he played on defenses that were not similar to what Robert Saleh was running here the past 3 years. So
real quick. I talked to Saleh about Ebukam a couple of years ago. We were talking about the upcoming Super Bowl between the Rams and the Patriots. And I remember Saleh breaking it down to me and him making a point to point out Ebukam, be like, he's really good. He's really good. He didn't even know his name. He was like, what is it? Ebukam? I don't know whatever his number is. He kept calling his number. So that guy's I'm telling you, he's really good. So I know the Niners have felt strongly about him for years. They see him twice a year. They game plan against him. And as you said, he's a coach's dream. He's versatile. He plays super hard. And he was just coming from a California team, so he's accustomed to the California taxes. He's a prime target for them in free agency. Right.
And I think, look, they weren't, again, we want Carl Lawson. We want Unique Ngakoue. Those weren't possibilities. But at this value, this is a pretty great signing for the 49ers because this is a low-risk signing. Worst case scenario, he's a really solid player for the 49ers. And I'd argue this is actually a player that doesn't have a particularly low ceiling because he has a really nice athletic profile.
Yes.
And when you have a nice athletic profile, you can get if you put him in the right spot, you might be able to get something special from him for a year, using him as a versatile chess piece on your defense.
Now, the thing is, on the Rams, he was a base player. They always had really good defensive linemen, but they saw him for 4 years and always felt, rotational, sure, we'll give you some snaps on the end, but we like you better as basically a Sam linebacker, base player, and a special teams guy. Now, I imagine the Niners, with the investment they just made feel like there's more there, that he can give them more as a pass rusher. From what I've seen, I feel like he's a good in a rotation as your pass rusher, but he's more of a versatile. He's not exactly Ahmad Brooks.
No, Ahmad Brooks is actually a thought I had.
Brooks was 6'5", he had big arms, but
Right.
Yeah.
But he's got an explosive first step. He rushes with power, good pad level, and he plays with great effort. And so when you put all of those things together, he doesn't have to be Dee Ford. He just has to be someone serviceable that fights, gives good effort that they can use. And I think that's exactly what he's going to be.
And for a part-time player, for a guy to have 4.5 sacks is only playing 36% of the snaps, there might be something there. And I know the Niners like him. So I'm optimistic. We've talked about how the Niners make their big splashes on lower tier positions and the positional value. And when it happened, I was like, exactly. But no, he's a good player. He's just a Sam linebacker.
He is. This is a good signing.
Yeah. Okay. this one just broke. The Niners restructured Dee Ford's contract. Let me tell you what happened. 2-year deal, $24 million.
Yep.
Pretty much it seemed like the Niners couldn't cut him. And so they reached some type of, I don't know, what's the word?
Restructure agreement, some sort of bargain.
Yes. So how do you feel about what the Niners did with Dee Ford?
Until this Trent Williams signing news comes out, this is the best move they've made this free agency. They were in an impossible spot after they redid Dee Ford's contract last year with his injury settlement and all of that. They couldn't really move off of him. Now, look, the best case scenario of this contract is that you have Dee Ford restructured. He's able to manage his body and he's able to play week 1. Now you have even more players in your rotation with Samson Ebukam. So all he really has to do is be the most situational of situational pass rushers, and he still gives you value. The worst case scenario of this is Dee Ford doesn't play another down for the 49ers, but you were able to redo the money enough where you're able to now keep Trent Williams and maybe get a Jaquiski Tarter, sign an Alex Mack, or do something like that. And so because of that, I think that this was just a great move. I think this is one of the moves where the Niners were really in a lose-lose situation with what was happening with Dee Ford because his body, he's been managing injuries his entire career. And when you're managing knee, back, that type of stuff, it's so unpredictable. But now and his contract, again, it was something like the Niners couldn't just flat out cut Dee Ford. And Dee Ford, I don't think, would have gone the retirement route because he had money to be made. So why would he retire? So I think that based on that, I think that this is the best case scenario for them. Could they have maybe put themselves in a better position by not touching his contract last year? Yeah, but that 2020 is hindsight. Based on what's going on now, this is the best thing they could have done, and I think it's a solid move.
Tell me if you agree. It seems to me that by doing this, the 49ers are hoping, obviously, that he plays again, and Dee Ford is saying that he intends to play again. Would you agree?
Okay. I just think that with Dee Ford, I don't think he knows. I think
that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying
he
doesn't know, but he's saying I'm trying.
I think he's trying. Right? Yes. He's trying, and I think that's admirable. Actually, Dee Ford, the money he's made and the injuries he had. If I was Dee Ford, I would say no mas. But then again, there's a reason I'm not an NFL player and I'm just a college student in my bedroom.
Final question for you on Dee Ford. Do you think he will ever play again? It's an impossible prediction. You don't have to make it.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's going to play again. Dee Ford's been playing hurt his whole career. I think Dee Ford is pushing to play. I think Dee Ford is going to play.
I'm going to say I don't think he's going to play, and I base that on 100% of nothing. So we'll see. We'll see.
We're both basing it off of nothing.
I don't think he's a malingerer. I think whatever he's going through is really serious. You're talking about the back, the spine. We'll see. But he's been dealing with back injuries a long, long time.
Right. And I get where you're coming from because you can't question Dee Ford's toughness. Anybody who's seen the things that he's played through in his career, it's like it has to be damn serious if Dee Ford's off the field because he's managed some bad injuries.
Real quick, Shay said he doesn't mind the Ebukam signing. Problem is, why not wait and save as much as you can? Possibly as much as you possibly can to match any offer Trent gets. We're going to get to Trent in a minute. That's a good point. Because what I'm thinking now is all these moves that they're making, with some of this money earmarked for Trent, maybe not. We'll talk about that in a minute.
The thing with the Ebukam and why they didn't wait is because I think they love the player a lot more than people want to.
I'm telling you, they love him. I know they love him. Salah said it to me personally. Guy's really good. Okay. All right. Fair enough. Tommy Huxley says, what are the chances Ford passes a physical? Yeah, we'll see. That's the question. I'm just skeptical, but I haven't been in that locker room in a year. They keep the media very far away now. All right. Kendrick Bourne possibly signing with the New England Patriots. Got a quick knee-jerk reaction to that.
Great fit for Kendrick Bourne. He's kind of what the Patriots look for in receivers. Physical, tough, good hands, solid route runner. Just the kind of player they look for. They're not looking for they don't want Randy Moss on the outside, They just want a guy that's cheaper. Like they can develop. Myers. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Jacoby Myers. They've had guys like this before. If you want to go back, like David Givens, Deion Branch, all those types of guys. He's a good, underrated, solid player that would be a good contributor for their offense. They just broke the bank, and one of my favorite signings of free agency. I don't even care how much they paid because I like Jonnu Smith that much. I think he's a top 5 tight end in the NFL, and I thought that was a hell of a signing for the Patriots. And I think Kendrick Bourne would be an awesome fit for them.
Good for him that he's going to get a big signing. I think it's interesting that the Niners didn't prioritize him. Of course, they're a 21 personnel team, and they don't use 3 wide receivers that much or don't want to. But Juszczyk doesn't play that much. Bourne's always gotten the ball more than Juszczyk. Juszczyk is a better blocker. It's just interesting how the Niners prioritize there.
So you can understand why the Niners didn't prioritize Bourne. I think the big thing with Bourne, and I think the one thing is that he's been the kind of only Niners receiver that's been consistently available since he's been here in 2017. He's tough. He's available. I know people get on Kendrick Bourne for the drops, and this is what I've come to with Kendrick Bourne's drops. The reason people get on him with those drops is because his drops are the worst looking drops. They're the easiest of catches that he drops. Because
he takes his eye off the ball.
Right. The reality of it is that Kendrick Bourne has really good hands because some of the catches he makes, not every receiver in the NFL.
He'll just kind of
Right. Not every receiver in the NFL can make. He's really tough going over the middle. I think his release package and route running is actually kind of underrated. He's not very fast, but he separates well enough to be a good target on third down. He's good in the red zone. He's tough. I think he's a solid football player. Again, Niners couldn't really prioritize him because I think he also prices himself out of the range that they're willing to pay a guy that's going to fit his role for them.
And again, he's a wide receiver. I don't know what he's going to get, but wide receivers cost more. It's easier to spend and get the best fullback. Probably the best fullback might be even cheaper than a borderline number 2 receiver on an NFL team. Kendrick Bourne might end up. I wouldn't know. Do you think Kendrick Bourne will get more?
I wouldn't be surprised if Kendrick Bourne's deal is about $5 million annually. Yes, I wouldn't be surprised.
That's what I'm saying. He'll be right there with Juszczyk, and maybe his cap number will even be bigger this year. I don't know. So I understand the Niners letting him go. Good for Bourne. I'm not sure that he'll necessarily be an impact starter on an NFL team. I think he's a solid number 3. If he's one of your top 2, you probably got someone injured or you just haven't been drafting well. So
I think he's a solid number 2 for New England, but he'd be the number 3 or number 4 option in their offense. He might be their number 2 wide receiver, but Jonnu Smith, I just blanked on.
Did they get Jonnu Smith?
Damian Harris. Yes, they signed Jonnu Smith for big money. Damian Harris. Those guys might be their number 1, number 2 options on their offense, but Kendrick Bourne's their number 2 receiver.
All right, real quick before we go to the next topic, Jamal Anderson, extremely passionate. Oh, I can't even read today. Jamal Armstrong. Very passionate, very generous. Thank you so much. Has a good point. Shaq Barrett had a similar career arc to Ebukam at this juncture. Look at Barrett now. Ebukam should have more productivity with more playing time. Not saying he'll be as good as Barrett, just similar skill set, career arc. Agree?
No, this isn't a bad comparison. The big thing I'll say is that Shaq Barrett also got the scheme that really changed his career is a scheme that really suits his skill set in Todd Bowles' 3-4 defense. I don't think Ebukam will have that schematic opportunity here, though James Bettcher comes from a background similar to Todd Bowles.
Bettcher
so maybe there's something
Bowles' there. He was
understudy. He took Bowles' job after
they were on the same staff.
Him in Arizona, when Bowles got the Jets job, James Bettcher got it. So I think this is interesting. I think
that must be the vision.
Right, Shaq Barrett is one of one, but Ebukam is a good player. I think we both agree this is a good signing for the 49ers.
He is a good player. Look, if he's just a Sam linebacker, then I think the signing was kind of whatever. But if they're right and he has upside and they can use him as a pass rusher, because I don't expect much from Dee Ford. Anything Dee Ford gives you is gravy at this point. If he can step into that role and give you 8 sacks, my God, what a hell of a signing, because dudes like that get paid $15 million a year.
I'll also say this. If he's just a Sam linebacker, that's on the coaching staff, because his skill set, I think he's shown in 4 years in the NFL that he has enough versatility to be a lot more than just that. Excuse me.
All right, now the questions are coming in. Let's hit them quick. John Alvarado says, I think we should let Trent walk. Well, that seems like that might happen. Draft Slater with the 12th pick. He's cool. I like him a lot. Get some interior help on the line and some more depth on this roster in general in case injuries. Thoughts? T-Dub or 5 quality players? I think we're starting to see which way the Niners went on that one. But look, we're going to talk about Trent Williams in a few minutes. Consider our answer coming for you, John. Don't worry. We're going to hit that in a minute.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way Rashawn Slater is going to be available at 12, though.
He's a hell of a player. Very mediocre offseason so far. Should we have expected anything else? Yeah, I mean, if you're expecting the Niners to go out and get Yannick Ngakoue, William Jackson, some guy who's going to get 85, 90, $100 million, it's not going to happen. It's not really what they do unless it's their own players. I'm
not sure what's mediocre about this offseason. Other than Trent Williams, which is the big domino, I think they've kind of managed. They brought back Jason Verrett. I think Juszczyk, Verrett, Trent were the guys that the fans wanted back, and they brought them all back. So I don't think this is mediocre. I think this is solid.
Can the Niners still get a second-round pick from the Patriots given the Cam signing? Can combo of Trubisky, Rosen, and Mond get us to the playoffs? I don't know if that second-round pick's on the table. Do you think it is?
First, I don't think that second-round pick. I don't look at what New England's spending on. Do they have them cap space to stomach Jimmy Garoppolo's contract now? And two, can a combo of Trubisky, Rosen, and Mond get us to the playoffs? I mean, sure, if you have the 2000 Ravens defense and the 2019 49ers run game, like maybe Mond is ready to start week 1 and he's the guy, but I don't think you can rely on a combo of Trubisky, Rosen, or Mond. It would have to be Mond in that scenario.
I think they potentially could, but you'd have to tell me what the Niners did with their cap savings after moving Jimmy Garoppolo, because the idea is getting rid of Jimmy allows you to build a superior team around a comparable quarterback. That's the idea. Michael says, is Bill trying to lure Jimmy to New England by signing Kendrick Bourne?
I don't think he needs to lure Jimmy Garoppolo.
Good point.
But
good point. I think Jimmy's sold. I think Jimmy's like, he's like Pinocchio wishing upon a star,
I do think this, though, and I think Jimmy Garoppolo and Kendrick Bourne do have an underratedly excellent connection.
Maybe he's not luring Jimmy Garoppolo to New England. Maybe he's anticipating trading for Jimmy Garoppolo and laying, hey, if they sign Emmanuel Sanders, that's the dead giveaway. That is the dead giveaway. Angelic Ambition, love the name, seen you before, says D'Amico Ryans developed Fred Warner and Greenlaw. I think he will do his thing with Samson. That's a good point. As far as letting KB walk, they believe in Richie. Well, I hope they believe in Richie. I believe in Richie. I never felt that they believed in Richie as much as I believed in Richie, but if they do believe in Richie, I'm going to say Richie again. Raymond Martinez says, what?
I do want to push back on the fact that he developed Greenlaw. Like, what about Greenlaw's game has changed from the player he was in college? He's still fast and he hits. It's not like they ask him to do a lot of read-react changes. It's not like they make him read a lot in terms of what's going on in front of him. It's not like they put a lot on him in terms of coverage.
Favorite draft prospects the Niners should draft? I really like Slater. I've seen him. I like him a lot. If they can get him, he'd be a home run pick. Anyone else like that?
I think he's going in the top 6 or 7.
I think
There's no way. There's no
questions with him.
He has great feet. He has good hands. He does everything well. Favorite draft prospects the Niners should draft. I'm a big Jalen Waddle fan, but I don't think the Niners should draft him.
All right. We'll come back. I mean,
Kyle Pitts also.
Kyle Pitts, hell of a player.
Yeah.
I love Kellen Mond. I like Kyle Trask. Davis Mills late, although his stock is going up. I like Davis Mills. I've been focusing a lot on
Justin Fields.
Justin Fields. I don't think Kyle feels the same way, but you never know. Justin Fields could have a good career. Last one. Now that the corners are taken care of and it seems unlikely that Trent is going to resign, you see the Niners moving up for Sewell. We are going to answer that question. We're going to give a round 1 prediction of where the Niners are going to go, at what position. Thank you for the donation. My goodness. We're trying to get back to our show, and you guys just keep throwing them. Hold on. Chris says, I think Jimmy would restructure for the Patriots personally. Should we pick up Sanders for some veteran leadership? You only pick up Sanders if you want Jimmy. I mean, what do you think if you have Jimmy?
I wouldn't mind bringing back Sanders, but again, like, this offense wants to live out of 21 and 22 personnel. You don't pay a fullback and prioritize bringing him back if you want to be a 3-receiver offense. And then why would you pay your number 3 receiver $4 to $5 to $6 million? And so, yeah, that's where I stand. And then the Jimmy restructuring, yeah, probably. I see no way New England takes a $25 million cap hit with Jimmy Garoppolo if he's their quarterback next year. I guarantee you it'll be between 10 to 15.
Okay, more breaking news. The Niners reportedly are interested in Corey Linsley.
He already signed.
With who?
The Chargers.
Let's not talk about that. Okay. What's going to happen with Trent? Hey, man, He signed with the Chargers, huh? Well, too bad. Niners.
Hell of a signing for the Chargers.
Hell of a signing for them. Yeah. Okay. So the Niners, they've thank you for that. So the Niners, they've restructured Dee Ford's contract. They signed Samson Ebukam. They signed Juszczyk, Verrett, Moseley. What do you think's going to happen with Trent Williams now?
I still think he's coming back.
Why?
I think he's coming back. The way they went after him, the way Kyle Shanahan and Mike Shanahan have talked about him in the past, they talk about him like no other player. Like, I guarantee you, if you ask Kyle Shanahan the list of the five best players he's coached, I'm sure Julio Jones is on that list. I'm sure Andre Johnson's on that list. I'm sure Trent Williams is absolutely on that list. Like, he thinks as highly and high of him as anyone. I mean, Chris Sims dropped a nugget on his podcast saying that Trent Williams reportedly wanted the 49ers, and he basically forced the the Washington football team to make sure that he's a 49er. I think what it is that it's really been I think Trent Williams testing free agency is something that's been right there in front of us, and we just haven't believed it. He's kind of talked about it and kind of waxed poetically in pressers about how he's never been a free agent. He would like to see what that's like. He would like to see what his value is on the open market. And I think that's what he's doing right now. He's enjoying his time. He's flirting, looking around and seeing everything. I think ultimately it's going to take it just a mammoth offer to get him away from the 49ers. I still think that the 49ers will be able to bring him back. I still think that is going to be massive. I think it's going to be north of 20 million. I think it's going to be 22 to 25 million. That's what I think. And I think that the one thing with the cap hit is that I think if you look at how contracts have been done this offseason, I mean, the Dak Prescott contract's an example, only a $10.2 million cap hit this year, even though there's a lot of guaranteed money tied with that. I mean, the Kyle Juszczyk contract was a low cap hit this year for the 49ers. I think the Trent Williams contract is going to be structured similarly, where he's going to get a massive amount of money, but I think it'll be a lower cap hit for 2021.
I don't think he's coming back, Vish. I could be wrong here. I think he's gone. I think these moves indicate that the 49ers have moved another direction. To me, it felt like everything was on hold until they felt that they were going to get an indication one way or another from Trent Williams. I think they got that indication. I think they felt that if he hit the free agent market, the odds of them bringing him back would be low. And they wanted to get it done beforehand. They heard what he said. They still tried. They pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. They couldn't get him to agree. And now they've made like 4 or 5 signings. I could be wrong here, but I think he's going to go to a team that he views as a contender, and he'll take comparable money and leave. And he'll have no emotional attachment to this team, go to I don't know where. But I think the issue is the fact that this team isn't as good as he thought it was a year ago.
I think maybe, but I'm trying to look at what that possible destination is. At this point, I think it's only Indianapolis. And when has Chris Ballard been a guy to really make that sort of a splashy pay in free agency? It's a non-trade, non-draft pick. And I think the thing with Indianapolis is, yeah, they have a cap room, but I think the reason Chris Ballard has been kind of playing it safe is because they got a lot of guys. He's drafted well, so they got a lot of guys that need to be paid. And there's Darius Leonard's going to be someone correct me if I'm wrong. They haven't re-signed Darius Leonard, right?
I don't know. Yeah.
Let's look that up right now. But
yeah.
I'm pretty sure they haven't. And Darius Leonard is going to be paid. Like, if you think the Fred Warner extension is going to be big, then Darius Leonard's contract is going to be that big as well.
I think he's going to Indianapolis. That's my prediction. I think Trent Williams is going to go to Indianapolis, be their left tackle. I know maybe Ballard doesn't have the track record to do something like that, but he did trade for DeForest Buckner and then immediately extend his contract, give him $20+ million a year. I think he's going to do something similar. I mean, obviously he doesn't have to trade for Trent Williams, but I don't mean to disagree with you. I'm just predicting, and I'm usually wrong with my predictions. I just want to put myself out there. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to just disagree, and I'm going to say he's returning to the 49ers, but we're both guessing here. We'll see.
Yes. Tyler says draft Slater at left tackle, draft Mon in the second, draft cornerback in the third. Only thing left in free agent is center David Andrews. Bring back Sanders. Yeah, I'd like that. I got no problems with that. I don't know if they'll do it, but it seems like a good plan, Tyler.
I don't see any possibility of getting Rashawn Slater at 12.
Yeah, he's really good. Only thing is if a bunch of quarterbacks go high and he gets pushed down some way. But if he were to fall at 12, he'd be an amazing value.
I think even if the quarterbacks go high, like we're talking positional value chart, there's no edge rusher worthy of going in the top 10 in this draft. So if you're not taking a quarterback, you're probably looking to take a tackle, right?
I don't know. A lot of people like Jamar Chase more than you do, Vish. Was Kyle Juszczyk a luxury signing in your opinion? Now, we think Samson Ebukam has some upside to be more than just a part-time player. Juszczyk has been on this team for 4 years. We know exactly how the Niners use him. Do you think he's worth the money they pay him?
Yeah, as an individual player, Kyle Juszczyk is worth the money they pay him. The question is his role worth that?
That's what I'm asking.
I think that's a different question, because Kyle Juszczyk is a hell of a football player. And look, there's two things that has been happening with the Kyle Juszczyk. There's the people who say, this is a bad signing, blah, blah, blah. And then there's the people like, yes, Kyle Juszczyk, Juice, we get Juice back. Let's go. John Lynch tweeted it. The reality of the situation is that neither of those reactions are, in my opinion, the correct reaction. The correct reaction is, I think, to start asking questions about what the Niners are doing philosophically and whether that's the right move. I mean, paying a fullback in 2021 indicates that you're going to be a 21 personnel, 22 personnel offense, okay?
Yep.
So that means that you're trying to basically catch defenses in base, okay? So theoretically, this is great. My question is, what happens in a game that you go down 10-0, right?
Yeah.
When you go down 10-0, like the difference between this season and last season is that the Niners played from behind a lot more. And when they played from behind, yes, there were a lot of injuries. That's why you end up with Kyle Juszczyk having a number like, 43% of the snaps played? It's not a product of Kyle Juszczyk being bad. It's just a product of you would rather have Kendrick Bourne, Deebo, and Ayuk on the field when you're throwing the football than Kyle Juszczyk. So I think Kyle Juszczyk is a very good player. I think he's a good signing. I think he's versatile. I think he offers a lot. I actually didn't think he had a particularly good season this year. I mean, we did this topic 2 or 3 months ago, and I told you he's not a guy I would prioritize.
His blocking fell off a little bit. It wasn't the same.
Right. I felt he didn't have as good a season, and 2, I felt that you could prioritize other players and kind of fill his role where, okay, not one player can't do everything he does, but 2 or 3 different players for a cheaper can do all the things he does. But look, Ross Dwelly can do a lot of what Juszczyk does, and then you just add in like a short yardage back, and boom, that's it. You got it. I don't know. Okay. I mean, even the short yardage back, he had a few rushing touchdowns, but this isn't an old school fullback where 3rd and 1, you just hand it to him and it works. Like, he had rushing touchdowns this year, but if you remember when Juszczyk first got here in 2017, they used to try in short yardage to hand the ball off to Juszczyk, and it would always fail. Would always fail. He's more of a finesse player. He's a finesse player. So he's a hell of a receiver, actually. I think he's a better receiver than runner. And Dwelly's got better hands.
Yeah, he's bigger. 6'5".
I think Juszczyk's faster, a bit more athletic.
That's true.
So they're different. But look, he's a very good player. I think fans have kind of overvalued his contributions just a tad because of the way he's represented in terms of, oh my God, Kyle Juszczyk. Kyle Juszczyk does so much for this offense, blah, blah, blah.
He's one of the faces of the franchise.
He's a good player. This is a solid signing. This isn't something that you need to be like, the Niners made a terrible signing. This isn't something that you say, it was great to have him back. I don't think that this makes a particularly large difference either way.
I feel like everything we've talked about, it fits under that. I mean, it comes back to a big baller saying mediocre offseason. Like, even if they do bring back Trent Williams, this team hasn't improved significantly. They're still slugging it out with the basement dwellers of the NFC West. I think that's a fair point. Maybe there wasn't a whole lot the Niners could do. We've talked about why.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I don't think there's much else they could have done. Yeah. I think this has been productive so far in terms of what they could have done. Look, the question is, would you rather have Kyle Juszczyk or would you rather have a couple more maybe defensive players or here and there? I don't know. Look, his contract isn't that big. Right. His contract is not that big. It's really cap friendly. They have an out after 2 years. The contract is phenomenally done. Prague did an excellent job.
They should just use him.
That's the number one thing. It's like it can't be that he does so much for this offense, but at the end of the day, he's playing only 40% of the snaps.
And there's one more thing. There's one more thing, real quick. I mean, he played a lot of H-back last year. A lot of H-back, where he was not quite a tight end, but right off the line. And in that role, I don't think he's anything special as a blocker. What makes him special is his ability to line up at fullback and make blocks in space. When you put him at H-back and he's just going in motion across the line and slamming the D in, like a bigger guy could really pack a little bit more of a punch.
He's not big enough to block in line.
He's not an H-back, and they use him a lot as an H-back.
Look, I'm ultimately just gonna have faith that Kyle Shanahan and Mike McDaniel really they're getting back into the lab, and their run game always is very intricate. They put a lot on his plate in terms of the run game. So mentally, he's really, really good.
They can't have the intricate run game they have without this guy. So that's the thing.
No, because mentally, the things they ask him to do are like very difficult.
No one else does it.
Right. But I think I don't know. It's just when I look at it, I think that the Niners offense, I don't think you need to be living in 21 and 22 personnel in today's NFL. That's just the way I look at it.
You can't. When you fall behind, you're out of it. You know? And also, why is 21 personnel better than 2 tight ends? Why? Especially when you use Juszczyk as a tight end so much. Anyway, real quick, Robin says they brought him back as a blocker in anticipation for the loss of Trent Williams. Maybe.
I don't think so.
Maybe.
I don't think either of those things have any correlation.
Jason Verrett, a bargain for the 49ers. Do you agree? What do you think?
Massive. The big thing is I don't know what his market was because we've talked about it. He is 30 plus, and he does have a lot of injuries behind him. I think the big thing with Verrett is that his play last year definitely did not warrant $5.5 million with possibly up to $6.5 million. He played like a $10 to $12 million cornerback. I think we can all agree about that. He played phenomenal. Yeah. I think the big thing is that if he's healthy and he plays just like how he played last year, absolutely it's a bargain. And he's probably going to go sign a pretty large contract somewhere else or with the Niners. But I still think that his body is a question mark. So it's tough to just sit here and say like, well, this is just. I think it's still a great move for the Niners, but I do think that his body being a question mark does. I think that's the reason he didn't get the huge contract this offseason and why he ultimately chose to come back to the Niners so quickly.
Yeah, I think it was actually a good deal for both sides. I think if I were the Niners, would have given him a multi-year deal had it been all conditional. And I think from Verrett's perspective. Why agree to that?
Wanted that.
Yeah, why agree to that? Instead of locking yourself into some deal that's paying you as a an injury liability, go back, prove it again, do a 1-year deal, bet on yourself, and see if you can get more down the line. Because they're going to cut you anyway if you get hurt. Like, what's the big deal? So I think it's a good deal for Verrett. It's a good deal for the Niners. He gets a little extra money if he's a Pro Bowler, as he freaking should. Because even if he is a Pro Bowler, it's $6.5 million or something.
Yeah, he's a giant bargain. He's a giant bargain. Yeah.
Now, if he gets hurt in training camp, as he has many times, and you miss him for the entire year, you are out $5 million or whatever, and that hurts. But
it's worth the risk.
It's worth the risk.
It's because he played way too well last year. He played way too well.
Yeah, he transformed the defense, and if you let him go, you're not going to get someone who's as good as him. If you do, you're going to be paying through the nose, either in the draft or in free agency. So
they weren't going to get anybody this good at this price. No
question. Casey Cole says, I know Fred is under contract, but he needs to be the priority now. First team All-Pro, improves every year, always available, only 24, pay the man. Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a minute. Thank you, Casey. We will talk about that in a minute. Kerry says, WFT popping them Heineke's. Ha! Love it. Real quick, I just want to hit you if you did this. Jared says, the Texans are making lots of moves. Are any of these moves an indication of whether or not Watson stays? I'm going to talk about that later, too, when we talk about Warner. Do you have any things you want to talk about here?
No, I don't think it has anything to do with Watson. I think they're just making moves because they need to make moves to improve their football team. They don't have a good team, and they don't have a lot of assets or wiggle room to really make moves.
But I do think they're going to move Watson. I disagree with Vish here. We're going to talk about it later. Martin says, I'm so glad they signed an edge rusher. Mean they won't draft one round 1, I hope. What do you think?
I think that they look. I don't think there's a edge rusher valuable enough to be taken at 12 in this draft to begin with. And the one thing with the Watson thing is, I'm not saying I don't think he will be moved. I just think that the moves the Texans have made have the move the Texans have made have zero correlation with the Watson situation.
That's a good answer. Okay, we're gonna get back to our regularly scheduled program.
You had one more here.
We do. What was it?
I think so.
Oh, we do a new one. Hold on.
Top 3 free agent fits available from Raymond Martinez.
Oh, sorry. What do you think? Top 3 free agent fits. It seems like Ebukam was one.
I mean, Ebukam.
Trubisky?
I wasn't even considering Ebukam. I mean, it's their own guys. For me, the top three were. It started with Trent Williams and Jason Verrett, and they're 1 for 2. I think once they get Trent Williams done, I think we can all breathe easier, because to me that's like in its own tier of how important that is.
Real quick, Chris Royal says our signings so far haven't made us better, but with our players being healthy going into next year, will make us better by far. Fingers crossed. Yeah, that's where the improvement needs to come. The health. That's
part of it.
Yeah. All right, real quick. Do you think the Niners overpaid for Emmanuel Moseley? I asked this because he was a restricted free agent. They could have had him theoretically on a 1-year deal for $3.5 million. And if someone offered more, they could have had a second-round pick. Instead, they kept him on a 2-year deal worth roughly $5 million a year. What do you think of that?
No, I don't think they overpaid. Why? I think he's a good player. I think he's a starting corner. I think he's a corner that's capable of being their starting nickel too, in the case that K'Wan Williams walks. He plays all 3 positions. He plays special teams. He's a guy they've developed within their system. I'm not saying he's a superstar. I'm saying he's a good, solid player. And I think that playing the restricted free agent game with him was dangerous, because I think he's unrestricted next year, I want to say. And they might not have been able to pay him. And if he had another good season, which he's had solid seasons the last 2 years, I'm not sure they would have been able to get him for, or maybe this particular price might not have been available. Are the details for his contract out?
I don't think they are.
I've not seen the details. No. And I don't think it's just $5 million per year. I think it might be
obviously
2 years up to $10 million. I think there's a lot more to look at with it, but otherwise, yeah, I think it's a good move. I like Emmanuel Moseley. I think he's tough. I think he's a good player. I think he plays all 3 corner spots. He's been durable. So I think it's a good move.
Okay. I mean, I agree. I think he's a solid player. I've always liked Emmanuel Moseley, but you think he's worth the second? You think you would rather have Emmanuel Moseley than a second-round pick?
I don't think they would draft a corner.
Still, you would rather have Emmanuel Moseley than a second-round pick? I'll take the second-round pick.
Depends.
I like Moseley.
Depends on who the second-round pick is.
Nah, because it's capital. You can use it to trade. You can use it to control the draft. That is worth. Moseley is not in no universe is Moseley worth a second-round pick. I get that they wanted to lock him in. Maybe they felt like you're saying.
Oh, you're asking like if they tendered him and somebody else signed him.
Because what's the worst? You give him the tender, a second-round tender, and then you got him for cheap. And what you're saying is, well, maybe he balls out when he comes back, and now you lose him next year. And
yeah,
that's a good point.
Right.
But the other way is, if someone gives him another deal and you don't want to match, you just got a second-round pick for Emmanuel Moseley, baby, undrafted free agent. I'm cool with that.
But no, I didn't even looked at it that way. That's funny, actually, because you didn't look at it my way and I didn't look at it your way. So that's interesting.
Yeah. So if someone, I don't think anyone would. I mean, no one would do that. No one would give up a second-round pick for Emmanuel Moseley. So I think you could have had him 1 year, $3.5 million. Why did they do 2? Well,
I think
on him starting and having a good year, and maybe
it's that. And then the other thing is, I think it's a really nice way to do business too. Because Emmanuel, they've let a lot of these undrafted free agents go. Like, look at Kendrick Bourne, tender, walk. Ross Dwelly seems to be on the tender, walk path. Nick Mullins was on the tender, walk path, but now he's not getting the tender anymore.
Yep.
So they've gone with it. But I think Emmanuel Moseley sets good precedent because they do rely on their development of undrafted free agents quite a bit. And Emmanuel Moseley sets up this kind of he sets an example of something undrafted free agents can look for. If you work hard, you do your job, you do it right, I think there is an opportunity that the 49ers will extend you. They do good business like that.
Yeah, I agree. In that sense, it does set a good tone for the team. Real quick, Steve was on my show yesterday, and he kept leaving $10 donations being like, Trubisky is coming to the 49ers. Mark my freaking words, Steve. Hey, good stuff. We're going to talk about Trubisky in a minute. Excited to take my Trubisky victory lap on your show. Haha, remember I told you to look for a near $20 million per year deal. I don't know who Steve is, but Steve, if they do that, 1, you'll be the ultimate legend. And 2, Kyle Shanahan will get fired pretty soon. So I don't know if you want to have that legacy, because look at Vish's face. Look at his face.
$20 million for Mitchell Trubisky. I will relinquish fandom the moment it happens.
Steve, I've never seen someone more confident about anything in my life. So Steve, Vish just aged 10 years in front of us. You can look at him. He's got gray hair now. You just stressed him out. Hold
oh
on.
my God.
What? 20 million? Yeah, you didn't expect to hear that, right? Okay.
I mean, I didn't mind the Mitchell Trubisky point, and then he said $20 million. Like, Steve, come on.
Hey, he's not saying what they should do. He's saying what they gon' do, and I respect that. Team Master 82 says, love the vids. What are your thoughts on Sam Darnold coming to SF?
He called him Darnold, though.
Hey, Sam Darnold might be better. Dude gave me $20 to ask me. It's funny. Me and Vish talk about Darnold every week.
Right.
We got to get back to our topic. No. The quick answer is hell no. We don't like Sam Darnold. You don't need to be trading second-round picks for a dude who's mentally broken as a quarterback and still needs development when you can get the same dude from Chicago for apparently $20 million. Wow, I thought he'd be worth like $5 million. Anyway, there are better options than Sam Darnold. You don't got to be trading draft picks for guys like that. Sign. T-Master, thank you. Real quick, and then we're going to get back to the topics. Wilson says, Ebukam's counting stats are a bit underwhelming, but his most important stat, 0 missed games. Hopefully Coach Rick works some magic, draft an edge late. Yeah, no, he's really good. You guys are. When I first saw it, I was like, man, they really just spent on a Sam, but it's clear they have visions for more, so good for them. I hope it works out.
Yeah, and the counting stats also have to be taken into context because this is a guy that didn't get an opportunity to play a lot.
True.
So how can you accumulate counting stats if you're not playing a lot?
And honestly, 4.5 sacks playing 36% of the snaps is impressive. Alejandro Malanch says Niners should sign Shaquem Griffin and Keanu Neal to fill the second.
I think he means Shaquille.
Shaquille, yeah, Shaquille's his brother, I think. Shaquille gonna be expensive. Keanu Neal gonna be affordable if they get either one. Bueno, but I don't think they're gonna get Griffin.
So
they just got their
I think Keanu Neal was a baller before the injury stuff, and I think he kind of played okay to the end of last season. I think the big thing with Keanu Neal is I think the NFL is starting to go past his skill set.
Well, at least
Keanu Neal,
he's better than Tavares Moore, and he plays most of the time the last 2 years. So he's a guy. But yeah, he's not what he used to be. He was more of a box guy.
Yeah, and I don't think you can put him in space playing single high and stuff like that. So
which is something you need for safety because Jimmy Ward's down playing in the slot. That's a good point. Swayze says, what about trading back with New England from 12 to 15? We get 97 and draft Darisaw. Could be.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Who would New England trade up for, though?
Yeah, Mac Jones, Kellen Mond. I don't know.
They're trading down. Always they trade down.
They always trade down. They don't trade up. But that's clever. I see what you're thinking. All right, let's talk Trubisky. It was Mike Garafolo who said that was my prediction at the beginning of the offseason. And I see nothing that makes me feel I'm going to be incorrect. In fact, I've heard that he is on their list of people they're interested in. What do you think?
Yeah. Okay. In terms of signing Mitchell Trubisky as a backup quarterback, don't hate the move at all. He's probably going to be cheap. He's shown that he can have success to in some sort of way in this offense. I mean, they ran kind of a bootleg version of McVay's offense in the last 6-7 games with Chicago when they changed their play caller away from Matt Nagy, and Mitchell Trubisky probably played his best football he's played in Chicago. He played pretty solid. I'm not going to say he played great. I'm not going to say he played but he didn't play bad. He was solid. And so I think as a backup quarterback, if you need him to play 7-8 games, he can play solid in Kyle Shanahan's system for 7-8 games. You're not going to lose all 7 or 8 of them. He can play winning type football. Now, do I think Mitchell Trubisky has a starter's upside? Absolutely not. Would I like the signing of just keeping Jimmy Garoppolo and signing Mitchell Trubisky as the backup and just going in to the season with that as your quarterback situation? Not particularly.
It's too expensive.
But Mitchell Trubisky solely as a backup quarterback is not a bad signing.
See, I think he's too expensive to be Jimmy's backup. If you brought him in, see, here, I think what's going to happen with Trubisky is people are going to throw the Ryan Tannehill thing out there. Let him sit on the bench, let him gather himself, let him learn a new system. That's the idea that he could. And I do think there are a lot of similarities between Trubisky and Tannehill. You compare their passing stats. Tannehill's from Miami's, Trubisky from Chicago. They're darn near the identical. They're both athletic. Trubisky might be even a little bit quicker, but I think there's similarities there. I'm not saying he's going to end up getting a $120 million contract like Tannehill ended up doing, but I'm not saying he won't. There's something there. But to have him back up Jimmy, that's a very expensive room. I think if the Niners bring in Trubisky, it's what they should do is make him the starter and bridge quarterback for before they bring in the rookie. You still got to draft a quarterback. If their only move this year is to sign Trubisky and keep Rosen and Jimmy, I got a problem with that.
I wouldn't even, if they're going the bridge quarterback route, then I wouldn't go the Mitch Trubisky route, because
Just
typically you want a bridge quarterback. I wouldn't even go Alex Smith. You want a bridge quarterback that's comfortable in your system. And Mitchell Trubisky doesn't know this system yet. Alex Smith has never played in this system. So Jimmy Garoppolo is too expensive to be the bridge quarterback. So if you're going the bridge quarterback route, the name, I wouldn't throw out the name, but you're looking for a Brian Hoyer type, right? Somebody that's played for Kyle Shanahan, knows this offense. Case Keenum, maybe wherever he is. I think he signed a pretty large deal in Cleveland, though. He played in a similar offense last year with Stefanski in Cleveland. So he might be an option. But look, Mitchell Trubisky is a backup, not a terrible move. Mitchell Trubisky is a backup for Jimmy Garoppolo, and that being their decision to go into this season at quarterback would be severely disappointing. It would be something I'd look at as a fan and go, that's what you did? That's how you think that you're improving the situation at quarterback? But Mitchell Trubisky solely as a backup, not as a starter. I don't like the Ryan Tannehill comparison that much, but I'll leave it, because I'll just leave it. And so I think that's not a terrible move.
I mean, I feel like I don't know. I mean, if you look at him as Ryan Tannehill, and I think some people in the NFL do, then the idea is to put him on the bench for a while, not bring him as a starter. And that's what makes me nervous for the Niners on this one. It's like, you really are thinking about bringing him in as a starter, as a backup for Jimmy, letting him sit, letting him build up some confidence again. That's a very expensive quarterback room, very expensive. And you're not going to be a contender if you're spending $35 million on two quarterbacks. It's what the Raiders did with Derek Carr and Marcus Mariota. You can't do that. You can't. So one or the other, not both. One or the other. And I'm cool with Trubisky. Yeah. He's younger. He's cheaper. He's more mobile. He's had less injuries. I'm fine with that. I don't think he's the long-term answer. I don't know that he's not. If you bring him in, draft a quarterback, fine. But the Trubisky Jimmy combo is a lot like the Darnold Jimmy combo. It's just too expensive. I don't know. But I guess,
and it's just not good enough, frankly.
It's not good enough. You're spending $35 million. You're spending $35 million on quarterbacks, and you don't have Deshaun Watson. What's the freaking point? It's too much. You don't even have the guys that make it worth it. Real quick, hold on.
Someone give you $50 to tell you that you're not a Niners fan.
But that's something else. Hold on. That's like foreign currency. Are there any good defensive tackles in the class? If so, do we take one? We need one, and it's the Niners. I swear I haven't done any scouting on D tackles. They have D tackles. Kevin Givens.
They don't need. Yeah, right.
No,
Kevin Givens is a good player. Kentavious Street is a really solid player. We still don't know what's happening with DJ Jones.
Grant, you said recently you're not a Niner fan. It made me upset. Who do you support? And why not the Niners at this point? I'm not a fan. I'm a journalist. I was a Niner fan growing up, but I haven't been a Niner fan since like 2010. Sorry, it's the way I do business. It's the way I think it's
I've actually gotten DMs asking me whether you're a Niners fan or not.
That's hella funny. No, okay. So
Firm 10 also asked you a question. I don't think we got to it.
Hold on, which one?
Firm 10, he just went away.
Oh, so in short, how is Dee Ford? Yeah, how is Dee Ford's restructured contract going to affect the cap this year and next? Thoughts on that if you didn't already talk about it? It's going to free up about $9-10 million cap space.
That's what I mean. The details haven't come out, so it's really hard to just tell you. But if it's what we think it is, then yeah, it's a hell of a move. I think it's freeing up, I think, $9 or $10 billion in cap space.
Yeah, so I mean that's enough to basically pay for the draft class. It's a big deal. Now I just think it's interesting. It's huge. Now it'd be better if he could actually play, but this is something. This is definitely something.
If he plays, it's bigger than huge. This is like wow, one of the best moves the Niners have made in the last 4 years.
Now, round one, the Niners have signed 2 starting corners. A lot of people were looking at it as like they have to draft a corner. They have no one on the roster. Well, now they got people on the roster. What do you think right now? This is the 15th of March. There's a lot of time left. Things can change. 15th of March, where do you think project Niners go round one position-wise? Just position-wise. First pick.
Quarterback.
Yeah, me too.
Quarterback. I think it's quarterback.
Yep.
It's either trade down, quarterback, trade up, quarterback, stay at 12, quarterback. I think it's going to be quarterback.
Now, if they don't get Trent Williams back, offensive tackle is certainly on the table.
Yeah, but I
Certainly.
mean, this was a team that said they had a scenario last year where they would draft Colton McKivitz and have him compete for their tackle job. So
I still, it's on the scenario, because if Rashawn Slater is there at 12, then wow, he's blessed pair. He is BPA.
Yeah, I agree in that sense. But I think it's going to be. I think Trent Williams is coming back, so I think it's going to be a quarterback.
Right, you said that, of course.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be.
Which quarterback do you think it's going to be? This is a prediction, not a suggestion. I think it's going to be Trey Lance. I think Kyle likes Trey Lance. Here's the thing: when Chris Sims
here's the thing with Trey Lance, real quick. Here's the thing with Trey Lance, real quick. Benjamin Albright, not a friend of Grant Cohn's, but
I don't have anything against him. He blocked me. I don't even know, dude. I don't even know.
Benjamin Albright, he said that the worst kept secret in the NFL is that Atlanta's going to take Trey Lance at 4. Arthur Blank is obsessed with him. Their GM is obsessed with him. Arthur Smith likes him. Atlanta's going to take Trey Lance at 4.
All I'm saying is I think Shanahan has Lance over Fields on his draft board. But what you're saying is it doesn't matter because Lance won't be there.
Why? Because he played in an under center offense and executed a couple of similar concepts to the 49ers?
Yeah. Yes. Why do you think Kyle drafted CJ Beathard in the 3rd round?
I'd like to think he's evolved from that.
No, I don't think he. I'd like to think a lot of things, but I just don't. Real quick, big homie and them, what a name. Fred Warner will be included in combination with some picks and maybe another player for Watson. Remember, you heard it here first from the big homie. All right, man. I appreciate it. Noted. We're going to talk about Watson and Warner in a minute. In fact, we're going to talk about Fred Warner right now. Vish, what do you think is going to happen with Fred Warner?
Look, I think we all anticipated going into this offseason. I think we talked about it ad nauseum here, Grant, that Trent Williams, Fred Warner were the 2 deals that had to get done first. And I think we both assumed both those deals were going to get done before free agency. It was that kind of a situation. Well, it looks like the Niners have gone about this in a different way, and now they're sitting here at the start of the legal tampering period, and Trent Williams isn't signed. So it looks like they're still working on that priority. I'm not sure if Fred Warner deal gets done this offseason. They might have to go into year 4. I think Fred Warner will ultimately be re-signed, but I'm not sure it's going to get done this offseason. That's just my guess, just because the timeline and the way the money is working right now, because after this, they're going to get into draft and all of that. Maybe they do it later during camp. The Fred Warner deal gets signed. We don't know what Fred Warner is going to do, whether he's going to hold out, anything like that, because this is a big, big deal for the 49ers. Fred Warner has proven to be a leader. Fred Warner has played every game the last 3 years. Fred Warner's improved. He's been everything you want when you draft somebody like John Lynch and Adam Peters and Kyle Shanahan. Their draft record, part of the reason their draft record is solid is because they drafted a Fred Warner and drafted a George Kittle. So to me, it's a deal that's got to get done. I think whether it gets, I don't think it'll get done soon in March or April, I think, but I wouldn't even be surprised if it doesn't get done this offseason. But I think if it does get done this offseason, it's not going to be in this March, April window.
See, I keep getting real cynical with the Niners, and I don't want to be right about this. I love Fred Warner, and he deserves everything that the Niners should give him. But I can't help but connect the dots between what happened to DeForest Buckner, because they're so similar. I mean, never missed a game, young, everything you would want. Excellent player, improvement, leader, durability, the total package. What? Leadership.
If you don't mind me interrupting, I would say the one big difference between him and DeForest Buckner is that this regime drafted Fred Warner. So this regime has tied themselves to Fred Warner in ways they were never tied to DeForest Buckner.
Good point. So let me finish where I'm going with this. And again, I'm not accusing the Niners of anything. It's just a pattern I've noticed. I don't think it's something that they're consciously doing, but it's something they should think about. It's a bad look, and I'd like to bring it to light. The Niners are a very white team. And I say it like this. All the faces of the franchise are white. Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch, Jimmy Garoppolo, Nick Bosa, George Kittle, 5 white dudes are the faces of this franchise. Maybe it's a coincidence. It's probably a coincidence. But, DeForest Buckner should have been one. And when it was time to give him the money, they just didn't have it, and they traded him. Okay, fair enough. That's one thing. It doesn't mean anything. It's no pattern. But if they do the same thing to Fred Warner, then I got to wonder, like, what is – I don't think you're doing it on purpose, but if Fred Warner hasn't earned the right to be one of the pillars and faces of your franchise, and what is the deal with your franchise? Anyway, I'm not accusing them. It's just something that's in the back of my head, and I expect them to re-sign Fred Warner too, but if they don't, I'm going to be like, well, wait a second. What is going on here? What's that? So anyway, you don't have to react to that if you don't want to, because –
yeah, I mean, there's a lot there, right? It's something that I think it's not – I'm not like – you're not accusing the 49ers or anything. You're not saying that they are. You're just asking – you're just pointing out that it's not the best of looks.
It's not the best look.
Yeah.
It's not the best look. And, you know, if they were to trade for – like, let's connect this to the Deshaun Watson thing real quick. I think a lot of people, you included, expect the Texans to make this ugly. Fine him. Hold him out. Maybe hold him out for a while. I don't know if you can do that anymore in 2021. It's a really bad look. It's a bad look for the entire NFL. I don't know that Roger Goodell would want to let the Houston Texans do it. I think that, there's a little bit more sensitivity towards elevating black players. They talked about it all offseason. We want to empower our black players and our coaches and executives. Well, they're going to let Deshaun Watson get humiliated in Houston. This has nothing to do with – all I'm saying is kind of goes in line with that. And if the Niners were to bring in Deshaun Watson – that would be pretty interesting. But ever since basically the Niners got rid of Colin Kaepernick, team's been pretty white. So they should think about that. I don't think they're doing it on purpose. It's not something they're doing it on purpose. But think about it. If you ship off Fred Warner, it's a bad look. It's a really bad look for a lot of reasons. He is a 49er. He's earned it. You should re-sign that dude. We agree with that.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Fred Warner needs to be re-signed.
Yeah, prove me wrong. I don't want to be right about this. This is terrible. I think better of you than that, 49ers. It's just a bad look that you're probably not even aware of. So do the right thing with Fred Warner. A couple more things. Maybe the last thing.
This guy.
Hey, if you don't like what I'm saying, I hope I'm wrong too. Niners, prove me wrong. Deebo Samuel. A lot of people assume that Kyle likes Deebo as much as you do. I mean, you love Deebo.
I love Deebo, yeah.
And Kyle has some love for him too. I mean, scouted himself at the Senior Bowl. But he's also said some comments about him recently that make you wonder exactly how the Niners feel. How do you think the Niners feel about Deebo? We'll go out on this one.
Yeah, so the thing that really brought this up to light is Niners Nation podcast featuring Kyle Posey, Stats Guerrera, great people. Check them out. But yeah, they basically talked about to Benjamin Albright again, second mention, Grant's buddy, Benjamin Albright. But
I can't stand that guy. No, he's a great guy. Love that guy. Anyway.
Yeah, but he's a league insider, right? He's got good information and and he said that he believes that the Niners aren't as high on, or the coaching staff with the 49ers don't maybe love as Deebo as much as fans and media think. And he went on to say he's not sure if Deebo Samuel gets a second contract from the team. But then he also said that, look, I'm not reporting this. This is just something I'm saying. I'm going to get into trouble, blah, blah, blah. So he didn't report this. He just kind of related. And so when he says something like that, it gets you to think. And so I think the big thing with Deebo Samuel is that to say that the Niners have a problem with him on the field would just be like, how could they have a problem with him on the field?
Oh, definitely not.
When he plays, he's a dominant football player. The things he does to their offense are wildly evident. You just need two pair of eyes to see the difference number 19 makes for this offense in terms of the way he runs with the ball, his toughness, his ability as a receiver. I mean, Kyle Shanahan has said he's one of the better football players he's been around, and he was complimenting him profusely after the Rams game. I think the big thing with Deebo Samuel is, I think, again, I'm obviously speculating here, and I'm going off somebody else's speculation. So all of this was purely speculation, but I think it has something to do with Deebo Samuel's body and the way he manages his body. And I'll say this for two reasons. One, if you listen to Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch's end-of-year presser, go back and read the transcript now. When they talked about Deebo and how Deebo's got to be more accountable and how they hope he learned from this year on how he needs to make right. This year's a good learning experience on how he needs to take care of himself and his body. When Albright says this, and you go read that, now things make sense in a different way. And the other thing was, if you remember after the draft, John Lynch was, when he did his media tour, he talked about his relationship with Will Muschamp and how that helped them get a feel for the kind of guy Javon Kinlaw is. in spite of having the COVID protocol limit their access to these players. And he talked about how he appreciates how honest Will Muschamp has been with them, and how Will Muschamp was honest with them about Deebo Samuel, telling him that Deebo Samuel does have a problem managing his weight. So John Lynch said that. Their end-of-year presser seemed to indicate it's a learning experience. I think that's what it comes down to.
Also, the hamstring injury, the chronic hamstring injury is a classic symptom of a dude who's 10 pounds overweight. He's super fast, and he's also 215. If he could drop 10 pounds, I don't know why he needs to be 215. He's 5'11". If he was 5'11", 205, would he not be able to do? Does he need that little chunk? Does he need the chunk in the trunk? I don't think he needs the chunk in the trunk.
Because Wes Welker seemed to indicate that they used to take Deebo on runs his rookie year during the offseason, and he didn't miss a single one. He just wasn't losing that weight. So maybe he's just a bigger made guy.
Maybe he just eats too much sugar at night, man. Maybe it's just diet, dude.
We're speculating heavy here. This is heavy speculation based on a speculation from a league insider who didn't even report it. He relayed it.
I just think it's fair to say that he's got a little too much junk in the trunk, Vish. I think that's fair to say. Hey, my first impression of Deebo when he first talked to the Niners literally was that he had the biggest ass I'd ever seen in football. I was like, my God, wow. I didn't even want to look at it. I was like, wow, Deebo. So, yeah, he's built like a running back. He's 5'11", 215. I mean, even the Niners running backs aren't that thick.
No.
He's thick with 2 C's, like 7 C's, man. I think he can just drop 7 pounds.
Right. I think the big thing is that, like, this has to be their only problem with Deebo, right? Deebo seems to be a yes, sir, no, sir kind of guy. Very respectful, well-spoken, clean. He has a great attitude. Super smart. He has a great attitude on the field, just seems like a team guy, absolute toughness. He's an outstanding football player. There's no way they can have any other problem with Deebo Samuel. And frankly, I'm upset that they even have a problem with Deebo Samuel. This is my favorite player in the NFL.
Well, what they're saying is he's so important to us. We can't afford him to have a season like that. He needs to figure it out. He's that important and they're right. For him to be the franchise cornerstone guy who's going to get that second contract and be a face of the franchise, he's going to need to be more durable. Otherwise, they're just going to make it Kyle Juszczyk again.
And again, because Deebo Samuel is another contract that a year from now, I think Deebo Samuel, if everything goes right this season, he's going to be pushing to not hit the 4th year of his contract and get an extension. So, I mean, all this could be, honestly, is them just putting some pressure on Deebo Samuel, maybe through the media, and just saying, like, Deebo, like, you got
expectations.
Yeah, it could be something as small as that. There's not really much to look into this, just because he's way too good a football player, in my opinion, to really be having conversations like this. Isn't Dante Pettis. This guy is a star.
No, because with Dante Pettis, like, dude, your career is on notice. With Deebo, it's like, no, these are the expectations, man. You're that good. Mm-hmm. We can't afford you to be in and out. You got to be like as professional as you are talented. And year 3 for a wide receiver, this is generally when they put it together. I mean, he's not behind schedule.
Absolutely. And if you go look back at their comments, they're actually somewhat astounding, because I think we were all living under the assumption that Deebo's injuries were solely a product of Deebo getting his foot hurt and then him missing time, and then he came back. But they seem to indicate that maybe this was a learning experience and Deebo needs to do a bit more. So,
hey, you break your foot, you still got to find a way to not lose, to not gain weight. You still got to find a way to train. Otherwise, you're going to have this domino effect season again. Okay, we had a bunch of questions, and then I'll let Vish go. Hey, Vish, do you still think that after recent events, John Lynch's Twitter was hacked?
Oh, so I went on a podcast with these guys, and I thought it was solely John Lynch's Twitter was hacked. I still don't know. I mean, it was kind of a weird tweet for a GM to be sending out like that. It was kind of informal for a John Lynch, a guy who seems to have professionalism and be very formal and clean cut and expresses himself in the most like highest of manners in every walk of life every walk of aspect of his life that he participates in. But maybe he wasn't hacked. I still don't know, because guys are getting hacked. River Craycraft is hacked. Nick Mullins is hacked.
Could be. Joe Staley took down his tweets. John Lynch didn't take down his. Maybe that's, I don't know what to make of that. Sal Jeezy says, got to get rid of McFloppy before May 3rd. That $10 million option don't look too good. Think they will?
No.
would rule it out.
My thing with McGlinchey is that I still think, look, I'm not as low as him as you, but I'm not telling you that he was worth the 9th overall pick as a right tackle, because anybody who takes a tackle at the top 10 is always looking for Orlando Pace, Jonathan Ogden, Jedrick Wills from last year who was picked 10th, Tristan Wirfs. You're looking for that kind of a play. The reality is that oftentimes you don't get it. And so my thing with McGlinchey is that I would actually push, and I don't know if they can do this, but the best case scenario to me is not take his option and try and extend him now. A 2 or 3 year extension and bet on him now, because that extension can be for damn cheap. And I still think the 49ers believe heavily in their potential, his potential, regardless of what Grant Cohn says, because they seem to keep saying they believe in Mike McGlinchey, you know.
I didn't say they didn't believe in Mike McGlinchey, but here's the thing. Here's what I feel like let's say with Rich Madrid. Rich Madrid is the champion of Mike McGlinchey. And he doesn't look at it that way, but he just says, look, he's a good run blocker and a serviceable pass protector. Nah, 315-pound Mike McGlinchey was barely serviceable as a pass protector. 290-pound Mike McGlinchey is subpar in pass protection. Still a good move blocker because it just makes him even lighter on his feet. He can't drive anyone off the line of scrimmage.
I'm not going to disagree really with that. I wouldn't call him serviceable. I would call him average as a pass blocker, average to below average.
At 315,
and I would call him a very, very good run blocker. My thing is that if you can,
particularly for this scheme, because he's much better running than driving. So keep going.
Look, so the Niners have really two options here. They take his 5th-year option, okay? Mm-hmm. Or they don't take his 5th-year option. If they don't take his 5th-year option and he has a very good season, which if they don't take his 5th-year option, it's a contract year, and we've seen guys play great in their contract year, then they're going to be stuck paying him what his 5th-year option was over multiple years. They don't take his 5th-year option and extend him, then, especially because his stock has to be at an all-time low. Just because when you have a highlight reel, regardless, offensive line play is really tough to evaluate, but sometimes he's had a lot of moments that are highlight reel worthy, like Chauncey Gardner-Johnson putting him on his butt, Samson Ebukam on his butt. And that's just, we're not talking about, well, he missed this block. We don't know what the line call was. It's literally, right. It's literally him and that guy one-on-one, and he gets put on his butt. So when you have those kinds of plays, I feel like he doesn't have the highest leverage at the moment. I don't think he's a bad player. I still don't. And I still think that if they can extend him, and that extension is between $5 to $7 million, and maybe he gets his weight and everything right, now you have a solid starting right tackle for $5 to $7 million.
Yeah. There was one more comment from someone asking about Leonard Floyd. I lost it and I can't get it back. I guess he re-signed with the Rams. What do you think of Leonard
Floyd? Yeah, that's a good signing for the Rams. He played well for them last year. I don't know how good he is. I don't know how good he is outside of Aaron Donald, but we don't need to find that out.
Grant, what's the over/under on Lynch and Kyle Pooch in the draft? I don't know how to do that in an over/under form, but
they haven't pooched. I don't think they've pooched a single draft. I don't think they've had a 2017 Saints draft, because the 2017 draft, at the end of the day, they still were able to get George Kittle. And so when you get George Kittle in a draft, it kind of
real quick, I think you could argue that the only good first pick they've made was the no-brainer pick.
Bosa.
Yeah. I mean, that was no-brainer. I wanted him to trade down for Brian Burns or something like that, but everyone pretty much agreed. And you had to be going out on a limb to say it wasn't Bosa. I went out on the limb, but everyone agreed it was Bosa. At 9 and McGlinchey, that was up to them. They made the wrong choice. Every other Kinlaw, jury's out, but I have my suspicions.
Ayuk looks like a good pick.
Ayuk's a hell of a player. But I'm talking top.
Yeah, but I mean, I still think overall, like, look, at the end of the day, the NFL isn't about just nailing your first-round picks, because you have an entire draft. And I think the Niners end up batting about 50% in their draft. If they miss the first-round pick, they make up for it by getting a first-round caliber player in the middle of the draft. So for the most part, they bat about 50-50, which the odds are that's approximately where you're going to bat in the draft, maybe even worse, because it's such a hard thing to do. They haven't had the draft, like Balky's 2011 draft, like, in 2013 looked like just one of the greatest drafts of all time. But by 2015, all those guys were off the team besides Kaepernick. So it's really tough to say and evaluate draft picks so quickly. I think that – is that real?
I don't know. Hold on real quick. Yannick Ngakoue. Oh, wait, hold on. Yeah, going to the Raiders. I know that was someone you wanted. How do you feel about that?
I mean, the Raiders were desperate, right? So, the Patriots got Nelson Aguilar too.
Nice. People saying I was a little suspect for saying that Deebo Samuel was thick. He is thick. He's thicker than a Snickers. I'm sorry. I'm just using my descriptive powers. You know you like it. What's up, Vish?
I love Deebo. My favorite player in the NFL.
Yeah.
We were talking about Yannick Ngakoue. I think. Yeah, I think it's a good signing. I still believe in Yannick Ngakoue. I think for the way the Jaguars are going to use him with Gus Bradley, that specific front, he's going to be awesome. I just question how things are going to go for anybody going to the Raiders. Raiders just seem like John Gruden, he'll gut you. He'll gut you. Well, he's not gutting anybody. So
Yannick's a hell of a player. I don't know how they pull it. But this is the kind of stuff you can do when you have you play in a tax-free state. You can do stuff like this. Raiders aren't a contender, but they offer him basically a raise. It's like, hey, do you like paying no taxes?
Look, the Raiders need a difference maker on their defense. And Yannick Ngakoue's head hasn't been in the right place the last 2 years, but when he's right, he is a big difference maker on your defense. So they have to make that plunge.
Okay, last thing. Last Second Sports says could have had Yannick for the price of Ebukam and Juice. We got to look at the details before we make a real definitive statement. But if that's true,
look at what I don't think anybody else is going to sign the way Kyle Juszczyk signed to the 49ers. I mean, Kyle Juszczyk's deal was beyond team friendly.
Yeah, it was basically whatever you want, I'll sign it. I just want to be here. Thank you very much.
I mean, Grant, let's be honest. Like we've debated the merits of signing Kyle Juszczyk, whether it's worth it. Do you think that he's actually going to make it to the point of his contract when he's getting paid? Because the first 2 years, they got the outs after the first 2 years, and the first 2 years are very cheap.
Now they do give him a signing bonus, right?
Right.
It's like $9 million. So he's getting a nice little chunk of change. But on the cap, he's cheap as hell. When he gets more expensive is 3 years down the line when theoretically he shouldn't be on the team anymore. But he's on the Cabo crew. You never know. He's one of the faces of the franchise, Vish. You can't just rule it out. Anyway, Vish, I'm going to let you go. This has been by far the most viewed live stream I've ever had. We got like 2,300 people in here, but we got to go. We got to move on and, move on with our lives. No, there's going to be more news.
Crazy.
It's crazy.
This was crazy.
Crazy.
I mean, this live stream had my head spinning because here I am. I was planning for some topics. Then you call me 5 minutes before the show. Wait,
Ebukam. Bourne just got 3 years, $22.5 million. See, I told you he was going to get more money than – From where? From the Patriots? I told you he was going to get more money than he got more. Juszczyk.
Oh, so the Bucs.
Oh yeah.
Nelson Aguilar got what did he get from the? I'm looking at rap sheets. So he's got the numbers.
The Patriots are going to have Kendrick Bourne. Who's the other guy they got? Nelson Aguilar.
So Aguilar had 2 years, 26, and Kendrick Bourne had 3 years, 22.
Okay.
Pretty solid to me.
Hey, I think those two with Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be a nice little team.
Jonnu Smith. Hey, I've been saying it. Grant, I told you 2 weeks ago when you came on with us, Blake and Vish Sports, by the way, please subscribe. But
subscribe.
Yeah, when you came on to our show, if you remember, I told you New England's the sleeping giant in this. Now, I thought the money was going to go to a Corey Davis, but instead they got the money to Jonnu Smith, Nelson Aguilar, Kendrick Bourne, draft a guy in the second round.
So you're telling me the biggest investment they made was in their tight end?
They've always been
very interesting. I think that's the way to go. I mean, you want good wide receivers, but that tight end, if he's good, is almost unstoppable. I mean, what are you going to do?
The question to me with the receivers is always that there's always a couple guys with the receivers where like you can ask the question in terms of value. Nobody ever does the value debate with receivers, but is player X making $15 million better than player X making $4 million? Like player X who makes 15 might be the better player, but Y who makes 4 might be the better value because it's approximately the same player. With tight ends, there's only like 4, I would say, really good tight ends in the NFL. I would say 5. There's 5. It's Kittle, Kelsey, Waller, Hawkinson, and Jonnu Smith.
Right.
If you can think of anybody else, I can't.
Yeah.
Those are the 5. So,
go ahead.
So I would say from that standpoint, like tight end is the better value to overplay. Plus, it's damn cheaper. Like George Kittle is now like pretty freaking cheap for the 49ers, even though he's a highly paid tight end.
That's the thing. I think they're a more valuable position than wide receiver. They block. They're dominant over the middle. There's nothing you can do to really stop them. You can't lay the wood like you used to, like John Lynch did. Anyway, and they're cheaper for whatever reason.
There's only like 1 or 2 Julio Joneses, like the kind of guy that Julio Jones, regardless if you're paying him $20 million, it doesn't matter. He's just that freaking good. The rest of these guys kind of fall into a spectrum of.
Yeah, agree. Yeah, they're. Not everyone can be Ross Dwelly. All right, Rod Simmons says, do the odds to being able to trade for Watson increase if we sign Trent Williams? No, I don't think that really affects it. It's a trade. You're not luring Deshaun Watson. He already has said he'd like to play here. I don't think it's contingent on Trent Williams being here. I think that's just contingent on the Houston Texans answering the phone. They haven't really done that yet. But if they do that, I think the Niners would call.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. If the Niners aren't interested in Deshaun Watson, then fire everybody.
Yeah,
and you got to at least be interested in Deshaun Watson now, and you have to at least make that call. And they've done their due diligence call on every single person that's become available. If they don't do it on Deshaun Watson, fire everybody. No,
I mentioned earlier about the whole Fred. I mentioned the whole thing about Fred Warner and I hope they're not going to do what they did to Buckner. I hope they're not subconsciously promoting white players and not black players. I hope if they trade for Deshaun Watson, that would end that speculation. I mean, who is the most outspoken, powerful black athlete in the NFL right now? Deshaun Watson. You bring him onto your team and say, you know what? We like a guy like that. That's our kind of guy. Well, boom, there you go. So Watson, you like him? Go get him. I mean, that'd be a cool move. Do it now. Vish, thank you so much for coming on the show. This was legendary.
It was.
Yeah, it was. It was dope.
I don't even know what we were talking about because my head was just spinning 1,000 miles an hour. Right. And we were doing this topic, but then you got these 7 questions. So then we did this 7 questions.
We almost talked about the 49ers' reported interest in Corey Linsley after he had signed with the Chargers. Thank God you were on
Bills and Pats having it. Come on. You can't leave Chris Royale out. Come on.
Oh, what happened? Chris, what happened, baby? Oh, snap. Bill and the Pats having a midlife crisis.
No. So I actually think what he's done is brilliant. He kind of I think that I think what happened was everybody. I'm just going to talk about the Patriots if you don't mind, Grant, for a second. Just sit back.
Sure.
And so I think what he's done is brilliant. I think he realized, after Brady was gone, this roster was aging. It wasn't right there. So he took the L's last year. He didn't care what happened to Brady. He took the L's. He decided he was going to accumulate draft picks and he was going to clear his cap for this particular offseason. And so that's what he did. And Brady won the Super Bowl, but the Patriots still won 7 games with 1 million COVID opt-outs, Cam Newton getting COVID, 0 receiving weapons. And what they showed was they created this kind of identity with this power run game that looks pretty special and a solid defense. Now they're going to get people back on defense. And now Belichick is the only person in a free agency where everybody's available and half the teams don't have spending power. He has the ability to overspend in a free agency that nobody else can spend. So next free agency, he's not going to be spending when everybody else spends. And he's going to have all these players. Watch out for the New England Patriots next year. Their run game is going to be really, really good. Watch out.
Hold on. Yeah. Did Bourne Santiago Esquino said Bourne just got 3 years, 22.5. We see it. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. So you gave me 200 pesos for that. I don't even know how much that is, but it's a lot. So I appreciate it. You guys were super generous today. You were just throwing money at me and Vish. We did our best to catch it as much as we could in our teeth, in our shirts, you know what I'm saying, without getting too risque. So thank you. This was a hell of a show. I'm going to let Vish go, and I got to get back to writing articles. Dang it. Just when I try. Santa Clara, LOL, agree, Niner, blah, blah. Still early, but Russell, Seattle issues make Rams division favorites and home field advantage for playoffs easier. Niners finished last again or third this year?
Well, I got to stick to my brand. Once the Rams got Matthew Stafford, I penciled in the Rams as the favorite to win the NFC West. You get Matthew Stafford, things like that happen to me just because Matthew Stafford is that guy. The Niners, I think, I think 2 through 4 to me is very fluent. I think the Niners are good enough to finish second for sure, where it's them and the Rams fighting neck and neck. But I think things can also go wrong in a fashion where the Niners can finish fourth. We'll see. I don't think we need to make any division predictions right now. I think we can make them like maybe a week before the season.
This is a Rams fan. How do you expect to win the division without Samson Ebukam? I mean, how do you even expect to win 8 games? I don't know. I feel like the Niners have shifted the balance of power in the NFC West. Waruna Pereira, love the show today. Great work, guys. Thanks a lot. We are really leaving now. Please stop donating because I feel, oh my God, we're leaving. We're leaving. Clinton Peterson, love you both. Great show. I appreciate it.
Y'all just, I think Grant might finally be able to take a couple days off of streaming after this stream.
I don't think so, baby. I don't think so. All right, the show is over. Thank you very much. I'll be